thing that'll bite him later.
Yeah, we saw it right here that he just doesn't want you. As soon as you have a follower around, the guy just doesn't want to have anything to do with you.
Yeah. Luckily enough, the sick kid didn't have anything required, but 300 rupees with flippers newly in the logic would be pretty nice to have, because neither runner has enough to pay for King Zora and whatever item he might have today.
And it looks like we have sound again. So, hi chat, how's it going? So, quick recap of what we have so far. These guys been through escape, found the Cane of Samaria, and then found a bunch of other items. But you guys did see a lot of it. They did find the hammer inside of Thieves Town, if you did miss it, and the hookshot was on the blacksmith, as Saberwolf is about to find out. Now, since you guys did miss a lot of what we said early on, we did have some tech issues from time to time. It's no problem at all. I'm Dynasty Zero, if you haven't figured that out. I'll be commentating with Bite Size BK right now. And we have a quick race going on right now where both these guys are pretty well equipped, finding one item after another. It's very close.
I think we're going to see fake powder. Yep. Saberwolf pulling out the fake powder trick to get this magic bat item without actually having the powder. Not going to pay off for him, but it's another thing that he can check off his list of question marks, which is always nice to have a little bit of peace of mind. I did see that LevelUp, I think he dropped the purple chest. I don't think it got delivered to go, so he went back for the digging game. So he'll have his money, which is nice.
Yeah, he'll be able to route better without that chest, just for the first few things he did here. If he decides, it looks like he is doing the rest of it now. So he didn't lose too much time from it, but it's a bit of a lesson to take into account that when you have somebody following you, you can't do any of the NPC interactions you can normally do, especially with the purple chest. When you do have the Dwarven Smith, it's a bit different. Now, I'm pretty much interested in what dungeons they'll go next into, as they could try and dip into Pod having a hammer on hand. The chances are that Pod is not bow locked, because apparently it's only bow lock, I believe, what, 20% of the time? It's very rarely.
Yeah, I'm not super sure of what the stats are, but I do find in my own experience that Pod is less often to be bow locked than it would be otherwise. I'm not sure if we'll see them make that choice though. Right now, we know that Swamp is available, and they're right outside there. All of Death Mountain and Tower of Hera are in the logic, which would be another good play. But unfortunately, we still haven't seen a Light World map check. So I don't know if Hera is a pendant.
Now, it's a very interesting routing decision to go around like this in the Dark World while checking Light World locations at the same time. You really don't get to see that very often. Like, right now we're about to see Saberwolf go into mini Moldorm cave 24 minutes in.
Yeah, normally this would be probably something you'd do in the first 10, if that.
Of course, the hype cave here only found the silver arrows, which is not a bad price per se, but without the bow, it doesn't have any real use for now. But it's going to make the end game a lot more quick.
Yeah, definitely a useful item for more than just killing the big pig at the end. We saw Saberwolf pick up the red mail in Mini Moldorm Cave, which is another nice find. Especially with, they don't have too many hearts. They're at 7 and 5, but having an extra bit of his armor is really going to pay off for these guys.
Yeah, because this scene has not been that generous with hearts so far. It was pretty generous with every other progression item, I would say, instead.
Yeah, I would agree. I wonder if we're going to see a play on Swamp here from LevelUp. They did choose to drain the dam, and they have the mirror portal outside.
Yeah, I would not be surprised by it having every item necessary to beat it. Might as well. I mean, they don't have a sword, but it's just going to make the fight against Argus a tiny bit, take a bit more time, needing to switch between the hammer and the hookshot. But it's not a hard one, as hammer does do tempered sword damage, so it's only going to be one hit per puff.
Yeah, I'm still a bit surprised to see the runners make this play. I think it's a good one. It's a dungeon that they can beat. It's a crystal. Might as well get it out of the way. It's just that sometimes Swamp is one of the dungeons that you might end up being able to go mode, and it's significantly faster to go mode it than it is to full clear it, especially if you end up doing the left side.
Yeah, very easily, a lot faster. But it seems like both of them are trying to go through it, just trying to find what the missing items, such as a sword, the bow, especially the bow, to be able to do Palace of Darkness and possibly Eastern, depending on if it's a pendant or not.
Yeah, we saw LevelUp take an unfortunate death, and I think they might be going back into Swamp. Just wanted to grab that extra heart container for a little bit of extra safety. Going from 6 to 7 is, I would say, surprisingly good. A lot of enemies in the Dark World do 2 hearts. So it's nice to have a little bit of an extra buffer.
Yeah, especially since LevelUp did not go into Mini Moldorm Cave yet, so he does not have any of the added protection of Red Mail.
Yeah, they might be a little upset to see that it was, the red mail was right there. All they had to do was walk a screen to the right, and they would have had almost, I think it's almost twice the armor. It just changes the damage table, but I always feel a lot safer with red mail. Like, it feels like you can never die.
Oh, definitely. But I would say, nonetheless, that blue mail is the one you really want to find in every seed, because it makes such a difference late game. From the difference between uh, blue mail and green mail is, in my opinion, and when you go through the works of Dark World, makes such a big a difference that's much more remarkable than the red mail itself.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Usually at the point that you find red mail in a race, it's more or less irrelevant because you found more hearts anyway. So you were pretty comfortable with the blue mail that you might have had already. But at this point, I think Saberwolf picked it up when he had 8 hearts in Mini Moldorm Cave. So I think at that point, I would be pretty thankful to have it this early.
Not to say that having many hearts is not a good idea too, just because most of the traps enemies, such as spike blocks or fireballs, they do 1 heart of damage whatever mail you're wearing. So having a good collection of hearts, usually I would say maybe a full row, is something players would want to achieve at all times.
Yeah, and we might see something like that come into play on particularly the fight with Mothula. Sometimes the spikes in that room can get a little out of hand. You know, maybe you got a little bodied by the Gibdos earlier on in the dungeon, and you might not have much left by the time you get to Moth.
Yeah, so it looks like right now both the players are deciding on going on left side swamp first, trying to check the couple of items that are over there. Hopefully they will find the big key uh, over in that spot so they can check the big chest while going in the back of the dungeon. It's there's a chance the big key is there, but I gotta say more often than not I find it in the back of it. So you have to go back into the central room that we saw LvlUpInc just in right now to open that chest. It could also just be a compass or map. So if they find all the items by the time they reach Argus, hey, it's one item they can skip.
Yeah. The one thing I am happy to see is that both runners are committing to the full clear. So neither one having got if they both went to swamp this early and we saw one do left side and there was an item over there and the other did not, I think the odds that they would come back to swamp to do left side with that much of the world open to them would be very unlikely, and it would end up turning into a huge advantage for the other player. So it's nice to see that within the first 30 minutes, these guys are still both so close. SaberWolf, of course, having the crystal from Thieves Town, but LevelUp did get the most important item from there, which was the hammer.
Indeed.
All right, we're about to see the highest value part of Swamp. 3 quick chests. We're going to get 2 in the room down here, 1 in the waterfall, and then another one from Argus. So a compass and 10 arrows. Exactly what you want to see as these runners, I'm sure. Arrows without a bow and a compass that tells you where the chests are. Very, very helpful stuff.
And now we find a slightly more useful item in powder. Now the powder does open up a location. Unfortunately, Saberwolf already used the fake power glitch, so that location is no longer useful for him. But it does offer a good safety in Dark World dungeons, as he can powder most anti-fairies and turn them into fairies.
Yeah, I think if I was Saberwolf, I'd be pretty happy to find that powder because it might mean that my opponent is going to go check the magic bat, which he already knows is useless. I think it was a 10 arrow refill, and we see Saberwolf taking on a menu Argus, which is a brave strat for many. Not the hardest in the world, but very time consuming. And it's often more a battle with the menu than it is a battle with the actual boss. See him going for some double hits, taking 2 shots with the hookshot there.
Yeah, when you're a long distance from Argus and he starts spinning around like that, you can get a few doubles like that. It does speed up the fight a few seconds at a time. Like we said, it's a bit of a slugfest doing it this way, but you don't really have a choice without having a sword.
Yeah, and this, of course, could be in the logic. Even though the runners don't have a sword to kill the boss, the hammer is a valid weapon to do this with, so I guess we'll have to wait and see what Argus has for us. This last part I always find particularly difficult with the hammer. Argus just running around the room, and you have to hopefully... The hammer hitbox is not the greatest, I'm sure. Anyone that runs this game knows, especially the up and down hits are pretty unforgiving. But Saberwolf making it look pretty easy, rewarded with a blue rupee and another crystal. So taking another lead, 2-0, or just for a moment. I think LevelUp will get theirs in a second. Also doing the same menu, Argus.
Yeah, now it looks like Saberwolf is going to the eastern part of the Dark World. I wonder if he's going to maybe go check the guy under the bridge and the island, and maybe Zora at this point, since he does have the flippers and all, just before entering Ice Palace. If he decides to go there, because obviously it's a pendant.
We can see Saberwolf walk into Ice Palace, but I don't think that they'll be able to do much without a fire rod or bombos. And even if they had bombos, they need a sword. But picking up the bow on the Hylia Island, sometimes runners forget that that's a location, and you'll see them just maybe like mirror a little bit earlier, go to Ice Rod Cave or go to Zora, leave the portal behind, and then be very upset when they see a useful item up there. So happy to see Saberwolf not make that mistake.
Indeed. Now that's a bow just opened up even more of what was left locked in this world. And as we've said earlier, we still haven't seen what's the pendant and crystals on the light world, which is a bit amazing, really.
Yeah, I would expect that we might see it in a second, and we're probably going to see Saberwolf take that bow and go straight to Pod and possibly mirror and do Eastern as well.
Yeah, that's one. It's one of those routing options that I really like to see when they get the option to do it in seeds. Doing Pod and Eastern one after another, it feels so rewarding to do.
Yeah, it's definitely a good combo. One of the better dungeon combos that's available. Unfortunately, we saw LevelUp take a death to Argus. Thankfully, it's not too much time to go back in and do that, but he will not get the blue rupee, so that might be weighing on him for some part of the race.
Now, of course, without the boots or the flute, these guys do have to travel a lot by foot all across the place, pretty slowly. They do have the mirror to travel between light world and dark world at least, so it's not that bad, but it does make routing a bit of a slug sometimes. So they need to choose really where they want to go next precisely. You don't get to warp around.
Yeah, this mirror has been really it's been really pulling a lot of weight this seed for both runners. Because they would have done both of these light world and dark world trips could have been done separately, meaning they'd have to walk all that distance twice, almost doubling the time. But both of them are smart enough to make use of that mirror. And I think we're going to see a pod play, possibly a pyramid check. And LevelUp, of course, picking up their bow. So I wonder if we'll see the same play from them.
I wouldn't mind to going towards the Zora on foot, just to turn in the mushroom, check Waterfall Cave, and Zora, depending on the routing here. Of course, I believe Saberwolf already went there, so he doesn't need to do it, but LevelUp might do it this way around. Oh, and look at that. A nice prize on Pyramid.
Yeah, finally, at 39 minutes, Saberwolf is going to pick up a sword, and he's probably very thankful to have that. I wonder when we'll actually see a route divergence. Because for the first almost 40 minutes of the seed, these guys have been in pretty much exactly the same places, just trading off maybe the order that they checked them in, which is pretty funny. Normally, with this much stuff, you'd be very apt to see runners doing totally different things, but both of them are on the same wavelength today.
Yeah, we might see a small difference now that LevelUp did check the map in the lock world. So we now can confirm that Eastern is your green pendant. So Tower Hera and Desert Palace are required.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll still see Saberwolf go in and complete the dungeon. It is in the logic, and it is the green pendant, and you can immediately cash the green pendant into Sahasrahla once you finish, and it's pretty convenient to do that way. And I don't think we'll ever see them come back this way, unless, like, especially if we don't pick up a flute for a while. It could be a really long time before they end up getting back here.
Yeah, and Eastern itself is not a very long dungeon to go in, and so might as well just maybe dip in, see the items. You get a good chance of getting all the items early. And if you do decide to go towards the end of it to Armos, well, you get one more boss out of the way, check in the green pendant, just as like you said, right off the bat, since Sahasrahla is right here, and you never have to come back to that part of the world ever again. Now, apart from that, I believe it won't take much more time before they do go up Death Mountain. It's looking more and more like there might be something up there too, just judging by what the items they had so early on. Having the mitts, the lamp, and the hookshot quite early in the seed, as much the hammer too. So they have so many things left to check too.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think that we saw LevelUp check the pyramid, so they're going to be going without a sword for a little bit longer. Maybe that's what made their decision to not go to Pod and to go to Eastern instead. I'm not really sure. All things we'll have to ask in the post race interview if the runners choose to do one.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, well, I can't talk really for these runners, but myself, I don't really need a sword so much anymore. You can't blame the open tournament for that. It's
Yeah,
a lot of people got their experience fighting without a sword a lot because of that. So, and since this standard mode doesn't assure you a sword at Uncle anymore, but rather just a weapon. You do have still 4 swords somewhere over in all of Hyrule, so you get to find them overall, and you do need at least a Master Sword to finish the seed. So
yeah. At this point, I would be a little bit worried. I think to have not found a sword yet, because they only really need at minimum a flute, a medallion, and a fire rod. And I think that would be enough to complete the game. In addition to swords.
pretty much, yeah.
But that banks on the Desert Torch not having the big key or a small key that leads to the big key.
There we go. We have a flute here in Eastern.
Oh, wow. And I think we might... we're pretty... I think that the odds are pretty good that Saberwolf is going to check and go to Eastern after. But if they choose not to, that is going to be a big advantage. Having the flute, especially with the mirror, makes routing so convenient. It almost eliminates the need to ever save and quit. Plus, you get to fly around the map with our friend the Swag Duck.
Now, so far, Saberwolf hasn't found anything of value inside of Palace of Darkness. It takes a bit more time to full clear it, just because of the location of small keys and big keys can troll you a bit. And there's your first sword for LvlUpInc.
Yeah, that's got to feel pretty good. I think that was all 3 items. But I don't know if LevelUp checked to see that this was green pendant. So I'm not sure. If they checked the music, they would know. But I'm not sure if they're playing with game music.
Well, we are getting audio from their stream right now, so I do believe they do play with music, but it could also only be for us. Never know if the runner actually listens to it or not. Either way, we do see LevelUp trying to go somewhere else. I believe it's about time we see what's up Death Mountain.
Yeah, but first I think we're gonna see that flute get activated. I fully agree. Cashing in that right now is probably the best thing you could do. You want to make the most use of that as you can.
Definitely, you do want to get that bird early on, just because it saves so much time across the run, especially if you think you found it before your opponent has. It is still a race after all. You do need to beat the time your opponent is. So small routing decisions like that is how you can make up a lot of time over in this, because as you see, Saberwolf does have 2 crystals under his belt, contrary to LevelUp, but it's not that much of a problem. It can be made up very quickly depending on routing choices and where items are. And Saberwolf just found out the fire rod, so that's one of the first good prizes that Pod had.
Yeah, that is a pretty spectacular prize. That's going to open up a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, it also opens up the majority of Turtle Rock if he finds a medallion somewhere. But it does open up Ice Palace, the other pendant. Skull Woods is fully completable now, which I think we'll probably see pretty soon. But I wonder if that'll detract him from going to Eastern, which is someplace that he is definitely going to need to go. And the half magic, another find, super useful with that fire rod.
Yeah, I'm not sure about going into Eastern considering everything he found so far. It's I can understand why he would want to go inside of it. Just, he's so close to it right now, and there really wouldn't be any more time that would be more useful to get back to it. So might as well do it now.
Yeah, now is definitely the best time to do it. It's just that there's also the ability to complete. Let's see. They'd be able to finish Hera and Skullwoods. If they went into Eastern, they'd be able, and they got the flute, they'd be able to do Desert as well, provided it's not boot locked. But I think I would take 2 crystals over a green pendant myself.
Yeah, after all, the pendants don't really do much for you, because you do need all 7 crystals to be able to access Ganon's tower, but the pendants are really only useful for the pedestal itself, depending on what's there. And as we see so far, the chances are very slim of having some kind of useful item on the pedestal. It could maybe be boots or the book, one of those, but it's looking slimmer and slimmer for that to be a pedestal required seed.
Yeah, the odds are definitely dwindling pretty quick that the pedestal or even pendants at all will be required. But the dungeons themselves do hold a lot of items, so definitely still a possibility that a pendant dungeon will hold some sort of progression. We see both runners about to grab their boss. LevelUp literally going to pick up Blind and guide her to the boss room, and Saberwolf about to take on Helmasaur. So it's 17 hits with the hammer, or I think it's 4 bombs, but the hammer ends up being just a little bit quicker.
Yeah, because your bombs have to be very well placed to do its job. And Helmasaur tends to move around a lot, so it's easy to miss.
Yeah, another thing that we saw Saberwolf do is hold out your sword when you are using the hammer, and that extends the hitbox just a little bit, which makes getting the hits on the mask quite a bit easier. That and you don't take damage; you'll bounce off the mask instead of getting pushed back by Helmasaur. Picking up their 3rd crystal. And it looks like we are going to see that play on Eastern Palace, which we know is definitely going to pay off for Saberwolf.
Now we have a close battle here on LevelUp versus Blind. Of course, he does have a lot of resource he can use against Blind, so it's not a terribly difficult fight, but still needs to be careful on his health management, because Blind does hit pretty hard on his attacks. As we said earlier, his fireballs do a full heart of damage no matter what, and the head, I believe the head only do half a heart by now.
The fire shield is putting in a lot of work. I think it's blocked 3 or 4. That's probably a 5th fireball. Oh, but unfortunately getting pinched in the corner, and LevelUp taking another death. But it looks like he's going to go right back in and attempt it again. This isn't too bad. They know that Blind has an item, and it's something that they're going to have to do anyway. So if they're confident in their ability, I think this is a good play.
Now, depending on what LevelUp decides to do, they could just go right back into the room, which will have Blind already there up the top, or they could also just go back to Blind's cell and rescue the maiden again to reset the fight and have a better position on it. It's sometimes an option if you're having a bit of trouble dealing with Blind already positioned.
LevelUp making it to phase 3. He had a little bit of trouble early on, but a couple of really nice jukes on these fireballs. Unfortunately, taking another death. I think, it looks like at this point, LevelUp is gonna take a breather. Sometimes that's what you need. You just need to walk away, go do something else, and come back later with a fresh head. That way you don't get too frustrated.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than banging your head against a wall, especially when it's a boss like that. Might as well just do something else. You might find a few more items that are going to help you go through the fight more easily, such as a bottle with a blue goo in it, or a better sword, or maybe a cane of Burna even. It's very helpful for a blind fight.
Yeah, really any of the safeties, a cape or Burna would be probably the best thing that they can get. But a bottle with a potion would be great as well. And it looks like we're going to see something different from Saberwolf. They're actually finishing Eastern Palace, which is pretty great. We'll get to see what the green pendant holds.
Yeah, I really like this play just because Eastern is such a quick dungeon to go through, especially when you have the silver arrows here. You see how fast this fight was against the Armos fight. Eh, just 6 quick arrows and bam, he's gone.
Yeah, it's definitely a play that, knowing that Eastern had no more items, he knew that Armos had exactly the compass, if they were counting. It's just the fact that you wouldn't want to come back. You'd be like almost discouraged to go all that way for only one item. And showing off a little game knowledge there, picking up a Samaria block or a bomb, you can walk right over the Dark World portal. I'm just getting a heart container for their efforts, but I would say it's decent. You know, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, plus, and a small added benefit too is if this seed does require the pedestal for like the limited items that could still be on it, it could be interesting to see that he already has the green pendant for it, so it's a small advantage on this side. Otherwise, he did spend maybe what 2 or 3 minutes on it, so it's not a big investment of time.
Yeah, I think probably an extra 2 minutes to kill the boss. But I think for that peace of mind, especially with the lead that they have right now with 3 crystals to 1, 3 crystals and a pendant to 1, I'd say it's worth it.
Yeah, Swamp, Thieves Down, and Palace of Darkness. Now he's finally activating his flute he just found inside Eastern, so we'll probably see him either go into Skull Woods next, as he is already in Kakariko Village, so he could take the warp just up of town, or maybe we'll see him go up Death Mountain as LevelUp is doing right now.
And I think we're going to see the Skull Woods play. Probably just opting for crystals at this point, which I think is pretty neat. So we might, if this is the line of play that we're going to see, I think we'll end up seeing this and then probably a Desert Palace play.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. You know, going inside the Skull Woods here, maybe a quick pedestal check if he wants after doing it, and then mirroring back to the light world, fluting away into desert. Yeah, I would see that play coming right up. It's very efficient routing this way.
Yeah, the big thing is we're going to need a medallion for Misery Mire, but I think I always like to flute to Mire area and get that information, and that way you know when you need to go back, rather than maybe you pick up, say like you pick up Bombos in Skullwoods here, and then you're like, oh, I have a medallion. Let's just hope that that's the one that I need, and you end up going over there with the intention of doing that dungeon, and it's not actually what you needed to get in. So sometimes just gathering information can go a long way.
Oh, definitely. Especially in rando like this, where information can really change how you decide to check either overall locations or just route your dungeons around.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw that, but LevelUp just picked up the boots in Suit Bunny Cave, so that is gonna really help out in terms of making up some time, especially if Saberwolf continues to farm dungeons. They'll always be a little bit slower.
Indeed, it's going to give up a small advantage for now for LvlUpInc. So good on him for finding that. Plus, it does give a bit of peace of mind to route Desert and, of course, Ganon's Tower.
All right, and finding another sword in Hookshot Cave. I think that was the only useful item, but that is a pretty dang good one.
Oh, yeah. The Master Sword is a significant upgrade over the Fighter Sword.
Yeah, and it's another checkbox for an item that would be required for Go mode. I think we will probably see they'll get the sword on the pyramid at some point, which would be LevelUp's tempered, which will be nice. Once you go from Master Sword to tempered, that's a pretty big jump. At that point, most runners would say that you don't need anything else.
Yeah, the difference between tempered and gold is minimal, really. It does make it a bit faster to go through the Ganon fight and a few bosses, but otherwise, tempered is really good enough. But now we're seeing a Mothula fight with hammer strats, which is very difficult. You can see all the blocks flying around on this on this moving floor, while Mothula just flies around all over the place. He decides to fire a couple more fire shots at it, and gets rewarded with bombos. Not bad.
Yeah, hey, Bombos and Skullwoods. A little bit of foresight there for me. But we did see Mothula has a spike glitch in the version of the randomizer where they won't take damage if they hit the spikes. So it can be very annoying for hitting the fight and actually managing to get hits in. And I wonder where we're going to see Saberwolf flute to. It looks like the mire area, so they're probably going to check out what's on the desert ledge, flute back, and then head in there. So if mire is Bombos, I wonder if we'll see Saberwolf push both of those. And mire is Bombos.
Man, that's a you had some very good insight on this routing. So good. That's very cool. Well, this seed overall has seen some very nice routing on Saberwolf's side of things. It was a bit lucky on the items for being around, but he did react properly to them.
Yeah, Saberwolf's route has been very good, in my opinion. You know, full clearing swamp obviously takes a lot of time, but it's a dungeon that gave a lot of information, was fully available early on. But everything else is very quick. Like, I don't think Saberwolf has even, like, maybe not even considered going to Death Mountain at this point because all of these crystals are available.
But now he is a bit locked right now, as we've seen a small key on the torch, so he will need those boots up the Dark Death Mountain to finish Desert.
Yeah, unfortunately, seeing the map in the map chest there does seal the deal that boots are required for the seed. So they will have to go to Death Mountain at some point before finishing Desert. But where boots are in Suitor Bunny, I don't think they'll be a hard to find item.
Yeah, the item density over there is pretty good. That he probably won't check many items on the overworld until there, just because of that.
Yeah, and seeing another 300 in the checkerboard cave, and Saberwolf just saying, "Nah, I don't need that. I'm rich enough with 400."
Yeah, for the number of hearts and red mail and half magic on hand, he probably doesn't need any potions. And even there, he has enough to buy a couple of ones if he needed to.
Yeah, and we see LevelUp taking down Moldorm, picking up another crystal, just kind of close the gap as much as they can.
Yeah, an additional thing we could see too is Saberwolf is currently doing a crystal dungeon, but it's also a 5/6 dungeon. So the Pyramid Fairy will be available to go check afterwards, as he already did Skull Woods, which was the other 5/6 crystal.
Yeah, I like the strat we're seeing from Saberwolf here, using the sword beams on this room with all the Wizrobes and the popos. very, very convenient to knock them all away at a range. Makes for a pretty quick cleanup. And LevelUp taking a little bit of a snooze fest over here. He's taking a break, waiting for the tiles. I think LevelUp might have actually taken a coffee break. I wonder what we're going to see here in Mire, because sometimes key placement can actually tell you a lot about where the big key is. Like in particular, I know in other versions of Logic, I don't think it's changed, but if there is a small key in above the room with the 4 torches, the big key has to be vanilla. Unfortunately, LevelUp possibly miscounting items, picking up a compass in Hera Basement. Probably not feeling super great, but they did just get a crystal and have plenty of items to check. LevelUp here, remembering to check Spiral Key after Hera. Unfortunately, only having a red rupee, but this is another one that some runners will see forget if they end up going to Hera. They'll often forget to come back on this side of the mountain.
Now it is a bit unfortunate that Saberwolf is still on the fighter sword here inside of Mire. It's gonna make traversing it not that bad. Of course, having a good master sword in place would have been a bit easier to get the enemies out of his way. But at least the final boss won't be much of a problem having silver arrows on hand.
All right, and we see Saberwolf here heading into the bottom half of Mire. LevelUp picking up a potion, which I think is pretty smart. Definitely take advantage of that while you're here, getting a quick check out of the way. And we'll have a pretty interesting Vitreous fight coming up here. Saberwolf, of course, equipped with the bow and the silver arrows, which does make Vitreous quite a bit easier. So I don't think we'll see any trouble from them.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a very fast fight. Having silvers just one-shot all of the small eyes and 2 quick silver shots to the big one.
Yeah, and we see LevelUp here checking out the Zora items. they've had flippers for quite some time now. But unfortunately, we know that none of this is going to be super useful.
An additional bottle on the ledge might be a bit useful as a safety though for level up.
Yeah, it'll definitely be good for a safety item. Just no progression, which is a little bit unfortunate.
Now Saberwolf is another crystal closer to finishing this seed. All he's missing right now is Desert Palace, which is Boots Lock, and Tower of Hera.
Yeah, luckily enough, I think after this we're going to see Saberwolf go into Death Mountain finally. And with that, he'll probably pick up Go Mode relatively quickly. Unfortunately, he'll be on Master Sword at the time, but I think we might get to see them check Hookshot Cave just because it's so quick, which will let them pick up their Tempered Sword. But first, it looks like we're going to see that Pyramid Fairy check you talked about earlier. Picking up the 5-6 crystals from Skullwoods and Mire. Definitely good to get this check out of the way.
We never know. That might end up finding the last sword of them all. Let's just hope it's not some kind of other item such as a book, because that could send him off in other overworld locations that are not really useful for him.
Yeah, for sure. So let's see. I wonder where LevelUp. It looks like they might be going to Pod finally, which will get them their Fire Rod. And if that leads them to Skull Woods, they'll be able to pick up Go Mode pretty quickly as well.
Oh, and there's a shovel in Pyramid Fairy.
Oh no. I wonder if we'll see Saberwolf cash that in or just say that it's not worth it right now. They are fluting away, so let's see where they go. And they're fluting to 4, so it looks like they're going to check out that shovel location after all. You know, at this point, the boots really can be anywhere. So it is best to clear up any holes you get. But when Saberwolf finds them on Death Mountain, I wonder if you'll feel any extra pressure because they're in a location that's been available for so long. Like, boots were available when they had Mitts, Hookshot, and the lamp, which was, what, 20 minutes in?
Yeah, it was so early on that it's unbelievable, really.
Yeah, so he'd be finding them quite a bit later. But he's on his way to Death Mountain now. Just checking out the old man. Probably going to full clear this for safety, which is great. We know that he's well on his way to picking up Go Mode. The real question is if he'll get the sword in Hookshot Cave.
Yeah, since the Hookshot Cave should be on the end of this routing here, he's probably going to find his boots and then just go away right now. But he's deciding to check another few overworld locations before that, which it's interesting how he prefers to check these locations such as this one. I don't quite remember what was in this one.
This is an arrow upgrade. We actually didn't see either runner check it early on. LevelUp just checked it a few moments ago. But yeah, sometimes when you see runners do the route that we did in the very beginning, where they got myths so early and they went immediately into the Village of Outcasts, you'll see them forget little locations like the Ice Rod Cave, or sometimes runners forget the dam, stuff like that. But Saberwolf quickly back up to Death Mountain, probably going to head to Tower of Hera first.
Which is pretty fine by itself, just because Tower of Hera is kind of hard by times just to skip anything in it. It's often locked with having the small key on the first level and the big key downstairs at its vanilla location.
Yeah. Oh, but it looks like we're going to see a Spike Cave play. This is interesting, because without Cape or Burna, I don't know if this is actually available in the logic with just a bottle.
With only 5 rupees in the cave, he didn't find much, but he'll soon be able to explore the rest of it right here. I wonder if he's going to go check the eastern side first now that he's saving quit back to the old man.
And it looks like they're going to do just that, which is probably beneficial. Hopefully, we'll see them do all of Dark Death Mountain at once. Sometimes they'll see runners grab this portal down here and they'll mirror in front of the 2 caves.
Yeah, it gives you a quicker access to both of the sides at the same time. It's a pretty efficient route.
Yeah, and it looks like we're going to see just that. This is a cute strat that I saw people start in the fall tournament. You grab the portal and then mirror, and you can despawn that block, making for quick entry into the Paradox Cave, which is 7 quick items. Very, very lucrative location.
In the meanwhile, LevelUp did pick up his Fire Rod inside of Palace of Darkness here, and just picked up his half magic. So that's a bit more firepower on his side. No pun intended.
Yeah, for sure. I think with those 2 items, though, we might see LevelUp very inclined to head to Skull Woods after this, which would put them in go mode.
Indeed, having that Bombos medallion is pretty much the only thing he would need right now to complete the seed.
The one question mark is if they're going to find the sword on Pyramid before they fall down the hole into the Ganon fight.
Yeah, that's
I'm not sure if they'll ever go there at this point. If they go right to Skull Woods.
Saberwolf here is having a bit of a few sword slashes on that chest that contains the boots.
Yeah, just a little upset. I mean, at this point, Saberwolf probably knows that those have been available for almost the entire time they've been playing. So hopefully they're not too stressed out that they're feeling behind, but you can tell he's a little bit anxious to finish off this game.
Yeah, you never really know in these races, especially when the seed kind of gives you one dungeon after another available to you like that. You kind of ask yourself, well, if I could do this all this time, what did my opponent do? Is my opponent already ahead of me? Did he take that decision to do this? So that it weighs heavy on your mind. And once you get into that kind of mindset, that's where the small the small errors kind of start appearing in your plays, and it can quickly devolve into dying to bosses and stuff like that. So you really need to have a calm mindset and go through the rest of your scene thinking, okay, have to take back control of it.
Yeah, especially where we saw Saberwolf do you saw him do Pendant Eastern, which didn't reward him. We saw them full clear Swamp, which is possibly a lot of extra time, and those are things that we know that they might not have had to do. So they might be a little bit stressed that their opponent, what if my opponent didn't do those things? I wasted all that time. And of course, we know Saberwolf is well in the lead, but they have no idea where their opponent is.
Yeah, right now we've seen Saberwolf pick up a few more chests than necessary here already in Desert. Probably still looking for an additional sword upgrade, as Master Sword Ganon is. It's not terrible, but it kind of makes the fight a lot longer, just because Master Ganon doesn't take. It only takes damage from spins on the Master Sword, contrary to Tempered or Gold Sword, which can be affected by only slashes.
Yeah, of course. Unfortunately, when we saw Saberwolf pick up his go mode with the boots, he did not go into Hookshot Cave to grab that tempered sword. There's still another opportunity or two for them to go get it, but it might be a while before they do, if they ever do at all. And it looks like they're going to go for silver arrows on Landmo, picking up the first two, missing the third. And finally cleaning up that fight. And of course, LevelUp only a room or two away from King Helmasaur. And they should be picking up another crystal themselves in just a moment.
Yeah, judging from the routing here, if I were at Saberwolf's place, I would probably go in the Dark World right now and maybe check the Hookshot Cave if I'm worried about the swords. Or else I would just go straight in front of Ganon's Tower, mirror, and be right in front of Hera. So when you leave Hera, you can go in your portal, and ta-da, you're already at Ganon's Tower opening sequence.
Yeah, for sure. I think, at least personally, I would check Hookshot Cave just because it's so close. I think Saberwolf seems pretty confident as a runner in the things that they've done, the type of strats that they've exposed. So I think they might be comfortable with Master Sword. Just checking things that are semi-quick around them. That way, if they don't have to do it, they can save quite a bit of time.
Yeah, he's definitely proven that across this race that doing a lot of stuff, even with low hearts and low equipment, really, with not a lot of weapons, especially without a sword, is not so much of a problem. And as you said, he's looking Hookshot Cave right now.
Yeah, so he'll be very happy to find this tempered sword, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him just jump off the edge right here. Yep. Once he sees the tempered, he's out. That's all that he needed. And that'll significantly speed up the end of the game. Going from Master Sword to Tempered is huge, particularly for Ganon. It makes it so much easier.
Yeah, instead of all making the spins on Ganon, he only needs to do slashes, which takes a lot less time, and the timing on it is far less of a problem. So there's lesser chance that you get hit by him, so everything just goes so much better.
Yep. And here we see LevelUp checking the Mire shed, hopefully going to get the information that he needs the Bombos medallion. That would be the big thing to pick up here. Yep, checking just to make sure. And then looks like they're going to head into desert, and then we know that they'll be able to full clear that. Another good thing that's kind of working in LevelUp's favor is I don't think that we have seen another medallion, only Bombos. So the odds that they end up having the ability to go into Turtle Rock are pretty low. I don't know if we saw what the Turtle Rock medallion was. I think we just did on Saberwolf's screen, but I didn't pay attention to what it was.
Yeah, yeah, me neither. At this point, it was pretty much clear that there's no reason really to go inside Turtle Rock, as there's still many dungeons available to dip in to try and find that are crystal dungeons for LvlUpInc.
We see Saberwolf making quick work of Moldorm, picking up his 7th crystal, and he is on to finish the game. Right, and conveniently right outside of Ganon's tower. So now the only thing that Saberwolf has to worry about is where that Ganon's tower big key is today.
Yeah, let's hope it's pretty early on, just because it makes for quite an easier trip up the mountain, and possibly a very quick time for Saberwolf here. He is still sub 1 hour 30, which I don't think he'll quite make it, just because even if he does have to go through all of the gauntlet and the Ganon fight, which will take a few more minutes.
Yeah, I think the sub 130 is probably dead, but even still, Saberwolf is on pace to have a pretty incredible time for this seed.
Yeah, anytime you do have a sub 2 hour, I would say it's still pretty fast, and I would believe he's doing sub 145 easily, so it's going to be a pretty nice time to have, especially in the first week of the race here.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes the skeletons giving him a little bit of trouble. And LevelUp here, just a room or two away from picking up another crystal from Landmo.
Now, after he's done with Desert, the only other crystals he'll need is Mire, Skullwoods, and Thiefstown. But because he doesn't have Bombos, he'll probably go around Thiefstown and Skullwoods and try and maybe find Bombos over there.
Yeah, I think Skullwoods has got to be on LevelUp's mind at this point. You have the Fire Rod, you have Half Magic. It's a crystal dungeon. It's relatively quick to beat. You know, you've got to be, I'd say, pretty inclined to go over there. Especially where I think LevelUp still has to finish Thievestown.
I believe so.
Yeah. And there's our Arcane of Burna. So a little bit of safety, though. I don't think it'll ever be useful at this point
No,
for Saberwolf.
yeah, not at all. I would have seen maybe the cape being a bit more used, especially during the Ganon fight. When you do have half magic, it does make it a lot easier to just, slash away at Ganon while he's channeling the fire bats. Makes the second phase a lot quicker.
Yeah, unfortunately for level up, the medallions are another set of items that really can be in so many places. So you kind of have to check everything and just hope that you find it along the way.
Yeah, at this point, it really is a more of a what you prefer to check. Some people do like to check overall more than inside dungeon locations. It's all up really to your own choice. Statistics are one thing, but it's rando. You can't really just base yourself on statistic to move around. So now we'll see him go really the location he prefers to check and eventually find it.
We see Saberwolf making their way pretty quickly through the gauntlet, just on a little bit of low HP here. Luckily, they have powder, and there is a bunny beam in the next room over, so I wonder if we'll see them powder that. And I thought they were going to say no, dashing through, but have enough time to get there and grab the refill.
Saberwolf choosing to use fire rod strats instead of silvers here. It's a bit easier to aim around as the lag created from the silver arrows does make the fight a bit. It's a bit harder to aim with it as landmos move a bit faster than your arrow shots.
Yeah, and these next rooms coming up here for Saberwolf, just showing off where the Cane of Samaria really shines, taking out these Wizrobes. Let's see if he gets the second one. Oh, he was close. Just a little bit too far. Yeah, but still clean it up nicely. Those rooms are really nice. And I think they look really, really appealing when you use the Cane of Samaria on them.
Yeah, Saberwolf was low on magic there. I was wondering if he had enough, but he decided to be just to be careful and use the lamp instead of fire rod, so he loses a lot less magic to light those torches on. At the end of Ganon's Tower here, it's one of the worst places to lose any magic required.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to get stuck without magic in the top of Ganon's Tower. It looks like this bomb has given him a little bit of trouble. I think that's the fourth one, and he finally gets it. We'll see another quick powder just to heal up. Be ultra safe. Even getting some extra arrows for Ganon. Ooh, but taking a fall to Moldorm too. Luckily not falling on the spikes, but not that it'll be too much of a loss if he had. Yeah, so with Tempered Sword, it's only a spin and a slash for Moldorm, and we see that there. And so already has the Hookshot equipped, ready to Hookshot across the gap. Picking up the last chest in the game, I assume for him, with a red rupee. And now we'll see how good Saberwolf is with geometry, because Aga 2 is a pretty interesting one. You can pick up you can save a lot of time. Oh, that's a really good position for a triple, but Saberwolf only getting a single there.
Yeah, the timing is still not not easy to get on this fight. It's personally, it's one of the fights I hate the most in the game, even though, you know, it's not that hard, but getting the timing right can be, especially if you're greedy, can really lose you so much time.
Yeah, and we see Saberwolf finishing off the fight. Not too quick, but he's got it. He did get a triple on, I think it was the third cycle. But we see him, the duck, coming in the Dark World for no reason at all, even though you can't flute there. And he is off to the Ganon fight. Meanwhile, LevelUp, hopefully finishing off Argus here.
Yeah, he's a bit better equipped than last time, having a Master Sword to rely on instead of just a hammer.
Yeah, menu Argus is no fun. And it can definitely get the better of runners that maybe aren't as well versed in those kinds of strats. Because normally you'd never have to do it. If you've come from the vanilla game, you would always have Master Sword at that point. Oh, and we do see Burna coming out. So this is going to be a little bit of a lag fest on Ganon, but Saberwolf probably just wanting to make sure that nothing goes wrong here.
Yeah, I do believe he did pick up an additional bottle in Ganon's Tower containing a red potion. So if push comes to shove, he does have a bit more safety if he bumps into Ganon a few too many times.
Yeah, and it looks like we see LevelUp here also finally. Oh, it looks like he's going to head to Thieves Town first. But assuming they'll go to Skullwoods next, they'll also pick up Go Mode. Ooh, and we saw Saberwolf perfectly time that fire rod shot to pick up the torch glitch. And he got a double with the silver arrows. One more hit, and this game is over. And that's going to do it. Saberwolf firing off a couple of victory arrows, holding up his sword in triumph. He's got a pretty good time here. Around a 137.
And Saberwolf finishes with an official time of 1 hour, 37 minutes, and 7 seconds. Yeah, GG's.
Yeah, definitely a GG there. I would say that's a pretty good time. I think some of the ones that we've seen lately have been a little bit over 140 in the early stages of the tournament. So getting something in the 130 range is definitely gotta feel good. And we see some cute Triforce text there saying, "A winner is you," and it holds true today, Saberwolf.
LvlUpInc is still making steady progress across his side of the race. He's going towards now into Skull Woods, and he'll probably clear it pretty easily. With the Fire Rod in hand and half magic, Mothula is often just blasted away by this combo alone. And if push comes to shove, he does have a Master Sword to spin. Could do some pretty decent damage.
Yeah, luckily for LevelUp, they're definitely in the right place to get the item they need. So it shouldn't be too long as they do manage to defeat Mothula before they get their Bombos medallion.
Now, we will be getting an interview soon enough from Saberwolf right now, so just hang on a little bit.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what he's going to have to say after this one, particularly about that boot location and how long they were around for. All right, and Level Up finally heading into the back of Skull Woods. This could be it.
Congratulations, Saberwolf, on your victory.
Yeah, GG.
So how about that routing? What did you find out about the sea that makes it went so fast?
it looks like we have Saber back with us. Saber, can you hear us?
Well, we are trying to figure out how to get our dear friend here talking with us on the for an interview. It looks like LvlUpInc is having pretty much a go mode right now since he did get his bumbos from the Mothula fight inside of Skull Woods. So now once he's done with the fight in Mire here, with man, I am having a blank right now. The boss of Misery Mire.
Vitreous?
Yes, Vitreous. It's such a weird thing to not remember properly since this guy is he's caused so much pain while trying to learn him. Well, once he's done with him, he'll be able to just go up Death Mountain and finish the seed up, as he's already done the Tower of Hera early on.
For sure. The one thing to worry about is that sword. But luckily, even if he does make it all the way through Ganon's tower, that sword is only going to be on the pyramid. So maybe if he checks, if he has a little trouble, I don't know if we'll see LevelUp attempt Master Sword Ganon. I don't know if we'll see him look around GT for a sword. Only time will tell. I think we're going to have Saberwolf jump into the chat, and we're going to try to interview him that way. So we should see him momentarily.
Yeah, he already said to us that he put off a lot of Death Mountain during the entire run, and it's it's we saw that happen, and it's unfortunate since it did push off getting the boots for so long, but in the end, it didn't really matter that much as he did clear out most of all of the things pretty quickly anyway.
Yeah, I don't think missing out on the boots for that long really kicked him that hard. It would have been very nice to have them, and probably would have shaved a few minutes off the time. But other than that, I think things were pretty good. To get everything else and then have boots in a convenient location that you needed to go to anyway, I think is pretty good. Level Up now is headed to GT. So it shouldn't be too long before we see that one.
Indeed, as we've seen, the key was in the random room, as it's called, because it's a room you really never go into in a non-randomizer. Only has a bunch of useless items for you in there. So we'll probably see him shortly, as soon as, depending on what side they decide to go. Yeah, the swamp was a bit of a bust there for you, Saberwolf, but yeah, it was pretty much the same gambles you made pretty much all over the seed for both you and LvlUpInc. The only difference was a bit of a skill difference, I would say, and both your execution on a few bosses here and there. Otherwise, you had a very good routing through this entire seed. Of course, early emits did open up a lot of Dark World access early on, and man, that first dip inside of Thief Town gave you the hammer, and from there on, it was just, well, what can I do with these items? Having the mitts on hand and the hammer just opened up everything, and afterwards, as soon as you did find a Hookshot, you had pretty much the entire world open to you. It was just a matter of clearing dungeons from there on.
Yeah, I think we definitely saw that. It really seemed like you were trying to get everything that you could the first time you saw it. And yeah, that blind fight was definitely pretty scary. You had a pretty good handle on it for a while, and then took a couple extra hits, and all of a sudden you were down to half a heart. But you clutched it out. It made for some pretty good stream value. Yeah, it was definitely pretty impressive to only have a couple hearts and definitely no sword. Doing it with some less than ideal items.
No, it looks like LvlUpInc never did go on top of Pyramid to find his third sword, so he will be staying on Master Sword for the rest of it, and it's gonna make it a bit harder to go through it again and fight, but he should still make it through, because Red Mail and having a couple of bottles, he's still very well equipped for this.
Yeah, I think we'll see Level Up probably check every chest along the way, just in hopes that there's a sword. I think we know that there's not, but it's definitely something still to look at, just in hopes. Yeah, so Saberwolf, one of the things that I was wondering is really early on, because you had taken that immediate dip to the Village of Outcasts and started to route everything together, we saw you go into Swamp early, and we saw that Level Up made the same play. But I was just kind of wondering what made you make that decision when other stuff was available, like particularly all of Death Mountain and other such things. Yeah, I can definitely understand hoping for the bow. So you can combo both Pod and Eastern, which you did get on the Hylia Island. It just ended up being after you had full cleared Swamp, which you didn't lose any time by doing because LevelUp did it too. I just thought it was really interesting to see you make like such a big play early on. Like Thieves Town 5 Hearts is pretty good. And getting Hammer there definitely helped out. But then the Swamp dive really threw me because you were doing Swamp like a half an hour in, which I don't think I've ever seen anyone do before. Definitely good to check off, and it could have had everything. It was fully in the logic. I was just really surprised to see that play come out.
Yeah, the Swamp Palace has a lot of items in it. I believe it has a total of 6 different items you can find in it. So it's a very lucrative one to dive into, even if you're just to look for the rest of the items you need for Go mode. It just didn't pay off this time, but you still needed to do the dungeon at least from having a crystal required in it.
Oh, for sure. And I was happy to see that that both runners did choose to full clear Swamp. Because if the left side had something required, it would have been really upsetting to see. Because there's no if you had gambled that left side of Swamp was nothing that early, there's no way that you would have gone back in with everything else that became available, like getting Bow and then all of Death Mountain. It would have been you would have full cleared everything before you went back to Swamp. Yeah, you definitely got to do all of DM pretty much in one go. The one thing we were wondering is that when you went to Desert, if Desert was going to be boot locked. But that was like the big question mark, because if we had seen boots before you had gone to Desert, so if boots weren't required, you were basically fine to have never gone to Death Mountain ever until the end of the game.
Yeah, it made a lot of sense to check that. Like we said a few times, we were quite impressed overall with the how you routed all of the things, even with that those boots. There was just a trolley location being out of the way and really still in sequence. And that's a thing with having so many items early on. There's so much of the world that it's bound to happen that there's this one item that's just far off across the place and has nothing to do with anything. At least it went very well. I mean, finishing with an hour 37 minutes is not bad at all.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty good.
I'm gonna say I'm just happy not seeing Turtle Rock for once.
Yeah, that was kind of nice. I mean, the early Ice Rod was a big question mark. Because whenever you see that, I think everyone gets a little worried. You never want to know that, like, is Turtle Rock the play? Or, like, is killing specifically Trinex the play? And especially with having Cane of Samaria as the starting item, getting. But the one thing that was holding us back is medallion. But it's like they had mitts, they had hammer. Like I think mitts and hammer, Samaria and Ice Rod were like the first 15 minutes, and then Fire Rod was of course later in pod, but we didn't see a medallion until Skull Woods, and we still haven't seen another one. I don't think we will at this point. Yeah, something that long of like an item chain would be very, very stressful to have to deal with as a runner. But I think you made what I would consider good plays. And kind of like it seemed like you really wanted to push dungeons, and that rewarded you a little bit. No matter what even if you didn't find anything, you were always making progress toward the end of the game. Like even with the full clear on swamp and stuff like that, it always felt like you were pushing for an end game.
And LevelUp did not dip into Ice Palace either, or T-Rock too. The only really difference dungeon-wise was you completed Eastern and LevelUp did not. Mirrored back out as soon as they found a sword, I believe, in the vanilla big key chest.
Yep. Once we saw LevelUp get all 3 items in the front, I think they had been counting and they mirrored out and just said that the green pendant wasn't worth it, which it ended up being true. But they, at the same time, you did pod and Eastern, and they just went to Eastern, and they did pod much later. So I think it's possibly because they didn't go to the pyramid and get that sword. They did get the bow off Hylia Island, but I don't think we saw them push up any further after that.
Otherwise, I would say that you, Saber, you did do a few more overworld locations than LevelUp did, just because of trying to find the boots. But LevelUp had a bit of trouble here and there on a few bosses, which did take a bit of time to go back into later on to finish them up. But overall, it was a pretty nifty race early on to see, as you were both making all the same plays, going to the same dungeon, doing the same things. Yeah, it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I don't think we saw a graveyard ledge from either player. We couldn't have seen. I don't think we saw bonk rocks from LevelUp or King's Tomb, actually, either. And of course, boots were your go mode item, so there's no way that you would have checked those. I don't think LevelUp checked catfish, but I know you did, and it was a red rupee. Yeah, there's only really a handful of differences in the stuff. You guys were pretty much in sync for like 30 to 40 minutes. It was like the split where when you guys got bow, that was when you guys kind of flipped a little, where they went to Eastern and you went to pod and then did Eastern. And here goes LevelUp. Finished off Moldorm 2. Gonna head over to Aga 2 and then close this one up. Yeah, we hadn't. Neither of you had checked what the Hylia Island was at that point, because you both did the same route. You both went to Village of Outcasts, grabbed, got your mitts and stuff, or got your hammer and just went for it. You know, that entire south route went unchecked for so long. It was like a 25-minute mini moldorm, I think, which is super rare.
Level Up is about to be finished with this seed, already in a Agahnim fight. Just need a few more hits on him, and he'll be right off into the Ganon fight. Now, of course, we were fortunate enough to see that both of you guys went inside of Eastern. You know, seeing as pod was required, we were wondering a bit if your mindset was more of a, well, I don't have really a reason to be here, or just complete Eastern as you did. Well, it's sometimes a gamble to go inside a pendant dungeon, even if you're doing good progress. You could have just skipped it entirely. But fortunately for both of you, decided just mirror, go inside, and see what's in it.
Yeah, definitely made for a good decision. It looks like LevelUp did not want to check the pyramid. So I wonder if he does this and he doesn't check, I wonder how mad he'll be when he finds out there's a sword that's just sitting there. But he's making good progress right now. Hasn't taken too much damage. You know, playing the patient game and just getting the hits in where you can.
Yeah, that's how you get through Ganon when you're on Master Sword. You have to be patient.
Ah. Oh, he's got the fairy. I think he might have a potion still, but I'm not sure if that got used in GT.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure if he still has it. Either way, he still need to be a bit careful. Getting bodied by Ganon is the last thing you want. You might as well get hit by the fire bats instead. They do hurt less than touching him. Yeah, it was something like that, Saberwolf. It was, yeah, a very useless item. But now, since LevelUp did have a death to Ganon, he's able to find his upgraded sword right here on top of Pyramid. We'll grab a fairy along the way, get a quick refill, and right back in he'll go.
Yeah, with that refill, I think you got to feel pretty good. Full hearts, red mail, tempered sword. I don't think we'll see any trouble from LevelUp at this point. Even if he has to use the blue cane a little, it should be okay.
Yeah, there's two ways of seeing that sword right there. Either you go, ah, or you go, ha, how convenient. Depends on really your mood set at this point.
Yeah, we'll have to ask him after the race. I don't know. I don't know if we're doing interviews. I don't know if there's another race on this channel set for like 2 or 2:30. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think he's opting going to fill up his bottles, which is definitely a good thing to do. Ganon is not an easy fight by all means. So rather than, like we said earlier, hit your head on a wall trying to get through a boss, well, get a few more safeties, spend that cash, and just get through the fight more easily. And now with a few more filled bottles, he'll have a better time around. He might actually be thinking of using the his rod, uh, his cane of Burna, I mean, just to get through the fight for added protection. Cape would be a better choice, of course, but none of the runners actually found the cape this run around.
We see LevelUp taking a swipe at that bee there, ready to head on into the Ganon fight again. This time he's very well equipped. I would be surprised. And it looks like he's taking out the blue cane already, so we might see some lag strats, but it'll definitely get the job done.
Yeah, if you're having a bit of trouble playing, like, on the edge, might as well take it slow and steady. Getting through the fight in the end is the goal, and especially if if your opponent already ended, you just want to get that that win under your belt, getting a big Ganon out of the way and getting to that Triforce. Still feels good. Feels better than just abandoning your race.
Yeah, I think we're still going to have another cycle on phase 2. I counted 9 hits last time. So that should be the end of phase 2, and we're just getting safety. We're probably going to see a potion pretty soon, though, just to get some of that magic back. And now we're getting all these warps. Sometimes Ganon can be a real jerk at this point, but luckily for Randomizer, all of the warp patterns are the same. As long as you're on the same Ganon attempt. So there's no difference there between the runners, which is great. And that's a double for LevelUp. Now he just needs one more, and he should finish it right here, and that's it. So LevelUp, holding up his sword, he's ready to walk through that door and give the dot done. And with an official speed racing time of 2 hours, 16 minutes, and 35 seconds, LvlUpInc has finished the race.
GG's. LvlUpInc still did a very fantastic job on this, finishing up the sea like a champ. I mean, rando by all means is not an easy thing, and if you're not especially experienced with it, you can have a lot of trouble in it. And just finishing the sea by itself is still a really good effort on his part. So send all your DGs to LvlUp. Did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I'm really happy as well. I think both of these guys put in a pretty good show, and they showcased pretty much identical strategies for the better part of an hour. So it really shows how much these guys really know about this game. If you liked what you saw, make sure you guys follow the runners, both LevelUpInc and SaberWulf044. I think those are both their Twitch names. And make sure you guys follow Speed Gaming and 1 through, I think they're at 8 now. Is it 8 or 6?
I'm not sure if they activated up to 8 by now, but I do know that there's 5 pretty much active, and I believe 6 also, for sure.
Yeah, and then we're at ALTTP Randomizer 1 through 4 are another good set to follow if you want to catch some more tournament action.
Indeed. It looks like we won't actually have so much time for an interview with our second runner here at LvlUpInc, as I think they're preparing to do maybe another race on this channel. I'm not exactly sure, but otherwise, it was a fantastic race to commentate on, and GG's to both runners, really. If you guys had a lot of fun watching it, I suggest giving a good follow on both our runners here. And thank you, Felix, for confirming there's another race coming right here.
Yeah, it looks like there are a handful of 2 p.m. races. I'm not sure which one we're going to get. It's either going to be Kippy versus Megawatt or Vascos versus Akash. So there are a handful of races all throughout today, pretty much every hour. So you've got quite the selection to choose from. But I think that's going to do it for us here. This has been quite fun. I really enjoyed calming this race. Yeah. Any final words, Dynasty?
Yeah, it was a fantastic race to commentate, and I hope you like commentating as your first time commentating around Bite Size BK.
Yeah, this was fun. These guys put in a good show. I had a good time. You know, we had some laughs. Definitely a fun seed. Nothing that was too aggravating for either runner, I think, which is good to see.
Alrighty then, I'm Dynasty Zero, and I hope you guys have fun watching many more races across the following weeks. We have 7 weeks of Swiss coming up, so you'll have plenty to watch.
Yeah, and I am Bite Size BK, and you guys will have plenty to watch starting today, like 4 minutes from now. So don't go anywhere. There's going to be more action coming up soon. See you guys next time.